Hey everyone, what if the way most of us think about freedom, the whole idea of winning, of individual success, is actually incomplete? Today we are going to dive into a totally different way of looking at it, a perspective that might just flip everything you thought you knew about being free right on its head.
So let's just start with a basic question. When I say the word freedom, what pops into your head? Is it that classic image of someone climbing the ladder, getting wealthy and powerful by outcompeting everyone else? For a lot of us, that's the default picture. But there's some really fascinating data that shows a whole lot of people are starting to see things in a completely different light.
Let's start with just this number, negative 0.2098. I know, it doesn't look like much, right? But this one little figure, this statistical correlation is the key that unlocks a huge, fascinating, and really complex debate about what success and freedom even mean.
So, where in the world does this number come from? Well, it's from a big global poll on values. We're talking over 700 people from 71 different countries. And what it uncovered is this really surprising view on freedom that's held by a specific group of people. A view where that traditional, competitive idea of success isn't just meh, it's seen as the literal opposite of real freedom.
Okay, so let's break that number down. What we're looking at is a statistically significant negative correlation. That term, turquoise values, it comes from a model of human development called spiral dynamics. Basically, it describes a worldview that's all about holistic, interconnected thinking, seeing the world as one giant living system. So what this data is telling us is pretty profound. The more somebody sees the world through this turquoise lens, the less they buy into the idea that freedom is a prize you win in some big race for money and power. And that, of course, leads to a massive question. If freedom isn't about winning for yourself, then what is it? This is where we get into a total redefinition of success. We're about to explore a world where liberty isn't about what you can get for yourself, but about what we can all create together. Just look at this table. The pattern is, wow, it's crystal clear. You see that strong negative for competitive success? But then look at the positive, strong agreement with co-creating with others, with transcending ego to feel a sense of unity. And another huge negative, a powerful rejection of freedom as the power to dominate other people. Now, this is what's really wild. In other worldviews, especially those focused on power or achievement, you'd expect to see a positive link with competition. Here, it's completely flipped. For this mindset, freedom isn't something you win, it's something you grow through connection. And hey, this isn't just some abstract pie-in-the-sky theory. You see this philosophy out in the real world. Think about the Southern African concept of Ubuntu, which Nelson Mandela talked about so beautifully. It's this idea that freedom is a shared thing, a communal responsibility. My freedom is totally wrapped up in yours.
Or, get this, you can look at an entire country like Bhutan. They've literally built their national policy around something called gross national happiness. Their success isn't just measured by GDP. It's measured by things like community well-being and living in harmony with nature. It's a completely radical way of thinking about what a free and successful society actually looks like.
Okay, but just when we're starting to get comfortable with this, this enlightened, holistic point of view, bam, there is a sharp, really powerful critique that we absolutely have to look at. A critique that challenges the very foundation of this entire worldview. And the critique really hits you with one powerful question. Is this rejection of material success a sign of some evolved consciousness? Or is it what some people call a luxury belief, an idea you can only afford to have once you've already got the economic security to not worry about money in the first place? So which is it, privilege or transcendence? This question forces us to dig a lot deeper. We have to seriously ask if this perspective is a genuine step forward for humanity, or if it might be accidentally ignoring the harsh material realities for most people on the planet. The criticisms are really pointed. First, that it's a luxury belief. It's pretty easy to say money doesn't matter when your bills are paid. Second, that it kind of denies the very real, very urgent material needs of billions of people. Third, there's a danger of romanticizing poverty, confusing someone who chooses to live simply with someone who has no other option. And finally, that it can become a kind of spiritual bypassing, using these big ideas to avoid the messy, difficult work of actually changing unfair economic systems. And this distinction right here is absolutely critical. Voluntary simplicity, that's a choice you make when you have other options. It can be incredibly freeing. But involuntary poverty, that is a constraint. It's a cage built by a lack of resources. And it's the very opposite of freedom. The big critique is that this turquoise worldview can sometimes blur that line. So this isn't just some philosophical debate. It has huge real-world consequences. If you completely check out of the material and economic world, how can you build the resources, the power, the influence needed to make the big systemic changes you say you want to see? I mean, history shows us that movements for justice need smart economic strategies, not just a change of heart. So, where does that leave us? Is there a way to hold on to the really profound insights of this interconnected worldview while also taking the very serious, very valid criticisms to heart? Can we find a more integrated path forward? And this is where understanding this nuance becomes incredibly practical, especially if you're trying to predict how people will react to things. For someone operating from these values, if you frame a project as being all about individual gain and crushing the competition, they're likely going to feel alienated. They'll probably check out. But if you frame that exact same goal as a contribution to the whole, as a way to improve the health of the entire system, well, then you inspire deep, powerful engagement. It's not about killing ambition, it's about rechanneling it. So, an integrated path might look something like this. 1. Acknowledge privilege. Just recognize that having your material needs met often gives you the space to even think about these things. 2. Engage strategically. Don't reject economic systems wholesale, but learn to use them to create resources for everyone's well-being. And 3. Integrate spirit and action. You combine that deep spiritual awareness with the practical, messy, on-the-ground work of creating a more just and fair world. So when you boil it all down, the synthesis seems to be this. The goal isn't to reject success. Not at all. It's to redefine it. To move from a definition of success that's about me and what I can accumulate to a definition of success as creating the conditions for all of life to thrive. And that view has to include material security and economic justice as essential ingredients for everyone to flourish. And all of this leaves us with a really tough, provocative question to ask ourselves. The way we personally define freedom, does it work to liberate everyone? Or does it, maybe without us even realizing it, only end up liberating ourselves?